On February 24th, Indonesia launched Danantara, a new sovereign wealth fund that President Prabowo Subianto's administration has said could help lift annual growth. The fund is expected to operate as an investment vehicle and holding company for Indonesia's powerful state-owned sector, overseeing 47 state-owned enterprises with assets of around $900 billion US. But since its launch, Danantara has also been subject to some market uncertainties and questions about political interference in its governance. The fund's Chief Investment Officer, Mr. Pandu Sjahrir, joins us today to discuss its investment strategy. Welcome, Mr. Pandu Sjahrir.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we maybe want to get started talking about what you think some of the objectives are and what your short-term and long-term goals are with Danantara.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. I mean, the idea of Danantara is essentially to make an Indonesia Inc., to fully corporatize all the state-owned enterprise and make it run really for fully commercial purposes. So, we have two investment businesses. One, we have an operational holding or operational company. And the job of the operational company is to essentially drive total shareholder returns. So out of the 47, and I think that number will add, all of the state-owned enterprise will essentially grow, consolidate. And in terms of some of the other businesses that are underperforming, we obviously have to figure out what to do with them, right? For in terms of the operation holding too, the idea is also to increase dividend income over time. The dividend then will go to the investment company, which I headed. And the job of the investment company really is to be an agent of economic growth, to invest for profit. So obviously the objective is really to make capital gain, to make return. And then lastly is also to make sure we have proper risk management in place. So really when you look at Danantara, and we've shared the team recently, earlier this Monday, you see that all of them are really professionals, best in class in what they do, and it is made as a company.
Are there any other sovereign wealth funds in the region that you've drawn inspiration from? This is one of the larger wealth funds that we've seen in terms of how much money is involved. Are there any other models?
Yeah, so this puts us, thank you for asking that. I mean, this puts us right away into the top 10 in the world, number 6, if I'm not mistaken. And as that we meet with majority of them, we see what they are. But I think, every country is unique. Every country has needs. What is consistent with all the sovereign fund is the focus for profit. The focus is really to become an economic actor. And, the story of sovereign wealth fund too is not new. It has been around for a while. For us in Indonesia, it's relatively new. Right, it's been around 5 years. We had a first sovereign fund. This is the second sovereign fund, right? And one of the things we need to do is communicate our stakeholders that this really is for economic purposes, and has to be run like a full corporate. So when you talk, there were questions in your intro earlier about transparency, about governance. Most important is that we will behave almost akin to a public company. We'll come and report, we'll publish annual report. And when you say, how's the annual report will look like, we'll obviously see what are the top 10 sovereign fund does, and we'll, measure it by that, right? So this is really week 5 of this company. It's super exciting. We're so excited that in 4 weeks, we have 15 senior managing director join us who I think the market really likes. Out of that 15, 3 are foreign nationals. So really want to focus on making this a global enterprise.
And we did see in the past few weeks kind of simultaneously Indonesia experienced some difficulties in terms of its stock market. There was a bit of a crash. The rupiah has also fallen to its lowest level since the Asian financial crisis in 1998. How do you address uncertainties perhaps from investors? How have you been doing that?
Yeah, I think good questions. I would say this week, at least on the stock market side, there has been a rebound since we announced the theme. And more importantly, we were able to announce the 4 banks, which is within our group, Mandiri, BNI, BRI, BTN. And I think the market reaction was very positive. Since announcement to today, it's probably up double digit already, percent-wise. And that's positive, meaning that the key concerns were relating about political interference, whether they'll be professional. And I think these two question marks were addressed this week. I think the follow-on is how do we go about with the other companies under Danantara, and also who are the next people in the team that will come in, right? Because still we need to address that. And, with respect to Indonesia too, big picture, we're still at a 5% economic growth. Number two, inflation is still relatively subdued. And if you look at debt to GDP, we're probably still one of the very lowest among the G20 countries. So the fundamental remains intact. There were a lot of question marks, maybe because there were so many new law that are being made, so many new activities. I think market just need time to absorb it. In my personal view, I think you will see that this will transpire into positive outcome for the economy, but time will become our friend in this case.
I see. And talking about economic growth, President Prabowo has hopes to take Indonesia's economic growth from 5%, which has been quite stable over the past few years, up to 8% by the end of his tenure in 2029. How optimistic are you that Danantara can contribute to this, and just generally that Indonesia can reach that level?
Well, the answer is very optimistic because the 8% number is not new. It has been done before in Indonesia, around 5 times before. And in each of these instances, investment, the I in the GDP calculation, always hit double digit. So it is also important to understand for your readers and as well as people to understand that the I is the big push by President Prabowo. And a lot of it should not just come from government spending. It should come from private sector. And Danantara's job, in a way, is to become an enabler of that. So, for us, our business is to be able to attract third-party capital, international capital that brings, knowledge, that also bring technology, and we need transfer of technology to the country. And our job is to become a financier of that, right? And we have to run it profitably. We have to run it professionally, because really for us, it's just reputation, right? There's a reputation of the country and reputation of Danantara.
And in the short term, what are your targets and what are the sectors that you're hoping to focus on?
Yeah, we will receive the first set of dividends in 2 weeks, roughly around $8 billion will come in. And then there'll be follow-on dividend because we paid earlier dividend by the state-owned in January, but that came to the state budget. So this will be the first time that dividends of state-owned is going to be invested for economic purpose. Before, it always goes to state budget and it's done for working capital and the likes, and those are not essentially economic outcomes, but services to the people. This time, the second half this year, we'll be starting looking at investing into several sectors. Some of the key ones are digital infrastructure, energy transition, including downstream and renewable energy, food security, and as well healthcare. These are some sectors that we're looking at. There's roughly around $15 billion of opportunities we're already looking at. And hopefully by then, we will be able to announce to the market some of the activities we're doing on the investment side.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Pandu. And you can learn more about this story at scmp.com.